You put down the phone, you've nowhere to go. Get back on the road.
Hello there. Hey, I'm Willard Scott. Thousands of years ago, a very wise man said that to everything there is a season. And even though our modern day life sometimes gets pretty hectic, underneath it all, that's still true. And over the years, I've marked the changing of the seasons with my old friend, the old Farmers Almanac. And I'm not alone in that custom. It's something that millions of other people in the United States and Canada do too. In fact, people like us have been using the almanac for almost 200 years.
The Old Farmer's Almanac Video, Volume 1, hosted by Willard Scott, featuring Roger Welsh, and special guest star Jonathan Winters. Volume 1 contains casting, tackle, and fishing tips with Bud Levitt, Maud Frickert with her very special pet vegetables, learning how to pickle with Andrea Chessman, how to make use of your household trash with Roger Welsh, saving money when you grocery shop with Stu Leonard Sr., how the Old Farmer's Almanac predicts the weather, gardening tips and gardening by the moon, how to use the astronomical tables with Dr. George Greenstein, and a whole lot more.
Hey, that's quite an introduction. But then the almanac is quite an institution. We can't possibly cover everything that's been in the almanac over the years, or even the features for just a single year. But that doesn't mean there isn't a lot waiting for us in this program. For instance, we'll find out how the old farmer predicts the weather. And believe me, it's not by using the moss on trees or the thickness of a caterpillar's coat. We'll see how to garden by the moon, discover how to save a few bucks on shopping day, share household hints and recipes from our correspondent Roger Welch, and a lot more. Why, we're even going to go to Maine and find out how to and how not to hypnotize a lobster. Hey, say there, old-timer, do you have any lobsters up there?
We sure do have fresh-caught lobster. Just take your pick. No, you don't have to pack them in ice to take them back to New York. That's a waste of money. And good ice, too. No, what you want to do is just hypnotize the lobster. Sort of puts them in a state of suspended animation. And then, of course, they travel real good. Sure, I can show you how, if you want to buy a few from me here now. Okay, it's a deal. Pick one, it's real active in the tank, then stare him right down, like so. Don't have to worry about his claws. Rubber bands on him, you see. You grab him right there, and where his tail meets his body. Mind them claws, dear. They're good eating, those claws, but you don't want to shake hands with one. They're smart. Wicked bad if he gets a piece of you. That's where your firm grip comes in. Got to keep him so he can't twist around and get you. Kind of like holding a rattler, two heads. So let's say you make a good choice. You stare him down good, then you get him right in your hand without losing a finger. Then what?
Well, I sure don't know. But you know, that fella claims that he learned how to put those critters to sleep from some politician. So maybe he really can. We'll find out later on. The almanac once did, in fact, explain how to hypnotize a lobster. But most of the advice is of a more practical variety. Very few of us will wind up face to face with a lobster. But quite a few of us, and not just the Shakespearean actors among us either, often find ourselves hollering, "Out, out, damned spot." Gravy stain, you know. In many ways, the almanac's like an old friend. Actually, it's more like a bunch of old friends who get together every year. And as I'm sure you know, in every bunch of old friends, there's usually one who sees things, well, just a little differently than the rest of us. In the almanac, that's Don Bosque's job. Now, one look at his cartoons, and you'll know exactly what I mean.
Now, I've done a lot of cartoons for the old Farmers Almanac, but among my favorites, because I'm a car-oriented kind of a guy, old cars anyway, is this series called Chariots of the Gods. My depiction of the kinds of cars that former presidents of the United States drove. For example, here's a custom roadster driven by Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Harry Truman was only human. The Buick stops here. John F. Kennedy stocked his Hyannis garage with Edsels. Apparently called it the Bay of Pigs. Richard M. Nixon should have bought American. Bug 'em. And Ronald Reagan has owned this Thunderbird for many years, but will no longer drive anything suspected of having a left wing. Bust the cobwebs up on blocks. And nobody knows what Jerry Ford tried to drive.
There's sure a lot of interesting things in those graveyards. I guess a lot of us feel like we've got some pretty interesting graveyards of our own around our houses. Our graveyards are chock full of household trash, usually stuff we just don't know what to do with, but we don't want to get rid of either. Well, I'm happy to say that Roger Welch has some ideas, good ones too, about that stuff that we'd all like to have go away.
Every year, every American, man, woman, and child, throws away 4 tons of trash. The old Farmer's Almanac offers a lot of different ways that you can use that trash. In fact, you're liable to get into it so much that you're going to find at the end of some months you're out of trash. You have to go over to the neighbors and borrow some. For example, plastic milk cartons. You cut the bottoms off of these and use them for heat-retaining caps for your garden plants in the spring and the fall. I usually cut the tops off of a few and use them for nails, bolts, screws, anything loose out in the machine shed. Eggshells. A bath of eggshells and vinegar will take the spots off of glassware, china. Coffee grounds. You can dry coffee grounds in a warm oven, sprinkle it on the litter box to remove odors. I always like to throw a little bit of that out on my fishing worm bed out here behind the shed. Keeps the worms awake when I go night fishing. Banana peels. You can puree banana peels and use the juice to polish silverware. I always keep a few old combs around. Use them to hold nails when I'm driving them so that I don't hit myself in the finger. I'm so clumsy I once hit myself in the elbow while I was driving a nail. Old gloves. If you cut the ends off the fingers of some old gloves, cut a few slots in it, run a belt through it, you can use it to hold tools while you're working. I've even found a use for the ends that you cut off. You use them for a thimble cozy, because as any quilter will tell you, there's nothing worse in the winter than putting on a cold thimble.
You got a toothache, dear? Well, you've come to the right place. Maud has seen every kind of ache ever invented. I've even caused a few myself. Now, there's toothaches, and there's toothaches. And what's good for one is not necessarily good for another. For your regular garden variety toothache, of course, you just have to trim your fingernails and toenails at noon on a Friday, and you'll be as good as new by dinner time. Of course, if you get your toothache on Monday, Well, you might not want to wait till Friday to take care of it, I suppose. In that case, you want to run around the church 3 times. You want to be sure to get a church where they still believe in the Almighty. Won't count otherwise. Oh, yes. One more thing. You can't think of a fox while you're running, or it won't work. Or is it a fax that you can't think of? Best thing is just not to think of any words at all that start with F. And then you'll be sure not to think of fox or fax or whatever. Now, why do they make those words so much alike? Well, anyway, if you've got a really, really tough one, then you have to take old Marty's surefire, never fail toothache remedy. You get you a nice big Bermuda onion like that. You take a nice big slice out of the middle of it. Let it warm in the sun for an hour or so and really bring out the essence of it. Then you put it right over your ear on the same side as your ache. I hope the ache isn't in the front, because it'd be a little hard on the nose in that case. But it never fails. You must always work the first time, because I've never seen anyone do it twice.
My favorite pleasantries are buried on the right-hand side of the Almanac's calendar pages. Things like November 4th, 10-foot floodwater, Mount Pelier, Vermont, 1927. Or December 9th, 14-foot snowdrifts, Vevey, Indiana, 1917. Or how about this one? June 28th, 116 degrees in St. George, Utah, 1892. There's nothing that mellows a hot summer day or warms a winter night like knowing that someplace, sometime, it was much worse.
You know, even with all the features and all the history and all the tradition, I still sometimes wonder how the Old Farmer's Almanac has survived for almost 200 years to become the most widely read almanac in the United States and Canada, while literally hundreds of others have come and gone. Now, what's the secret?
This is the Old Farmer's Almanac, the same publication that Abraham Lincoln used in the murder trial, the same publication that George Washington read, so forth. So we have to strike the balance between sort of the old feeling to it, but brand new information. We also have to strike a balance between serious, meaningful information to do with astronomy, to do with the sun, so forth, useful information to do with food, saving money, gardening, and wacky information. One of my favorites recently was, you know, how to hypnotize a chicken, that type of thing. So it's got to be a balance, and that's what we're trying to get all the time.
The balance that is such an essential part of the Almanac's success is not the work of any one person. Instead, the whole Almanac staff gathers together to brainstorm over a year before the new edition will hit the newsstands. It is here that the pieces that will make up the next Almanac are chosen.
For years after the westward movement had either changed to railroads or something, you could see the deep grooves in the prairie where all the
I think
covered
they're still
wagons
there
were
in
going.
some places. I think I remember
That's
seeing
kind of
pictures of
neat.
That's a romantic kind of idea.
It is.
I would love to do a piece on things you didn't know about William Henry Harrison, the guy who was only president for a month. It could just be like a one-page thing, you know, like we've seen before. Odd facts about William Henry Harrison, the nation's briefest president.
It could be that there would really be records like from the White House on exactly what he did do during each of his 30 days as president. That's right.
Might be quite a
How
bit.
much could he
The
accomplish
wit and
in 30
wisdom of
days?
William Henry Harrison, a very slender volume.
According to a recent computer study, pigs are not at all amused if you say to them, "I'd like to fondle your sleeveless fur coat," but are moved to ecstasy if you say, "I think I'd swoon if you allowed me to kiss your limpid umbrella." In my experience, hogs like best of all the words "suey, suey, suey." As Mark Twain said, what I like about science is the immense amount of return you get for such a small investment of fact.
Okay, so here we go. The right way to hypnotize the lobster is to rub his tail till he goes to sleep. Now, you see, just like this. Now, I know there are those that say you want to rub a lobster's tummy. You want to stay away from that tummy crowd. Either they're the kind of folks that have a lot of strange hobbies in the privacy of their own homes, if you know what I mean, or they're from Florida, and they figure a lobster is like a crocodile, alligator, whatever they go for down there. No, it's not the tummy. You stay away from that tummy crowd, you hear? Now, you're writing this down, aren't you, dear? Good. So here we go. What you do, you kind of stroke his tail real nice. See that? I'm stroking. Here, I stroke it this way. How's that? See that smile there? Huh? That's how you know you're on the right track. Now, it helps if you sing a little to them, a lullaby of some kind, but something with a nautical theme that they can relate to. I wish I was a fishy in the deep, deep ocean through. I wish I was a fishy amongst the other blue. Something like that. Tra-la-la, tra-la-lee. You're back in the water. You're not supposed to be on the land anyway.
Well, no one ever said that every experiment's going to work out perfectly. I will, however, point out that the article on how to hypnotize a lobster that appeared some years ago in the Almanac was written by former U.S. Senator Edmund Muskie, and he claims it works every time. And who am I to doubt the word of U.S. Senator? Well, sir, from the first edition in 1792, the history and growth of the Old Farmers Almanac has paralleled the growth of these 13 colonies into a country that today stretches from sea to shining sea and beyond the Arctic stillness of Alaska and the tropical beauty of Hawaii. I sincerely hope that you've enjoyed our excursion into this special view of Americana. And for everyone at the Almanac, and for Roger Welch and Jonathan Winters, this is Willard Scott wishing you good luck and good reading.
Get back on the road.